Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scholars in the Spotlight, the show where you get to hear first-hand insights, tips, and tricks from students that won this year's WWDC Scholarship. Joining us today, we have a 22-year-old computer science student from Louisiana, with 3 apps on the App Store, cited on the Wall Street Journal for his iPhone repairs, winner of the 2020 Swift Chain Challenge. Please welcome Joseph Kokenge. Welcome, Joseph. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, man. So, man, your submission is an introduction to a lesser-known Apple framework. Why don't you give us an introduction to how the project works, what this framework is, and how you use it?
Yeah, so I use something called CryptoKit, which is a new Apple framework introduced last year at WWDC. And basically, it's like a framework that wraps like a lot of different security features and measures for developers like us to use in our apps. And yeah, so this is like the basis of my project. And I got the idea because I was taking a cryptography course at my university, which is in Louisiana. And yeah, we were supposed to use salting using SHA-256 encryption to basically, she gave us a bunch of different passwords, a bunch of different usernames along with the encrypted password. And we were told to like basically brute force it by checking all the different possible solutions and see which one would give us that encrypted password. And that would tell you, well, the password was this. So that's kind of like how my project works. It takes that idea and runs with that. Yeah, and so it's from a developer's point of view. So even from the beginning, it basically says like, okay, you need to write this code. You need to say import CryptoKit. As opposed to many playgrounds, they will tell you like, oh, here's the playground's already done for you, and now you can like click on the screen and like press this button, those kind of things. So if you really look at my project, it's a lot of it is like writing code and then seeing what your code would do. In an actual playground view, it's I don't want to say like it's useless, but basically it doesn't do much. Basically what the view is doing is just showing you like your code again and what worked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I really like the general structure of the playground. Like you had to write all the code and you use like the live window to like you said, see the code and see like the results. But it had a lot of interactivity, and I think that's something very cool about playgrounds.
Yeah, it's really different for me because usually like I am not doing that. I don't really teach much code. I'm usually on the end of trying, okay, it doesn't matter how it looks. I just want the user to have a good end product with good results. And they're going to see like just the screen of my app. And for this, it was different because it's like, well, how do I code something that will allow someone else to code within the platform, which is a whole new field for me. And of course, like it didn't like actually compile any of their code. It was just a lot of different like if statements and stuff to make sure that code was in the right spot and everything. And like checking for errors, and if an error existed, well, then there's no code there, things like that. But yeah, it was definitely a different experience. And like, if you don't know what a playground is, it might be like kind of confusing to say, well, it looks like he didn't really do much, but in reality, it's like if you look at what's behind the scenes that's happening to make sure that the person's writing their code correctly, it's way different than I thought it would actually be, which is like kind of the biggest challenge was like, I know what I want it to do. All I want to do is make it to where when a person types import CryptoKit, it says they did a good job. And if they didn't type import CryptoKit, it does not say they did a good job. It's like a very simple concept. And you take it for granted on sites like code.org or like those kind of different softwares where it's like teaching kids how to code. We take it for granted a lot of times, but in reality, it's like not that easy to do.
Oh yeah, man. I imagine like playgrounds, they don't have a lot of tools built around that, so it must be difficult to start detecting these lines of code and all of this functionality for yourself. And there must be a lot of hidden code in in your project that handles all of that, right?
Yeah, there really is. Would you like me to elaborate on that more, like how that works, or I don't know if that's what I made to get.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that hidden code is one of the tools that playgrounds give us to make like our experiences better, I guess, like cleaner.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and yeah, and you use like hidden code and also like the annotations with different styles. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, of course. So with the hidden code, one of like the easiest examples to explain is like, well, the first page, it tells the user to import CryptoKit. And so I was first trying to brainstorm like, well, how would I know if someone did that or not? And basically how it works is later in the hidden code, it checks to use one of those resources that CryptoKit offers. So similarly, if you like import a UI kit, you'd be able to use a UI button, or if you imported Foundation, you could then mess with the dates. And so I use this idea to basically say, well, let's try to use CryptoKit and set that to a variable. And if that fails, then I know that it's not there. So basically, it's a guard statement saying like, guard let this thing equal this piece of CryptoKit. And if I can't do that, then it didn't work. And if I get through the guard statement, then it does work. So that's kind of like how the hidden thing works, to make sure the person used the code correctly. And then I use that in general across the entire project. There's a lot of guard statements in there to make sure that something exists. So the next screen of the app, the playground, not an app, it basically tells you to like enter a passcode, and then it's going to show you how long it takes for the computer to guess your passcode using brute force. And so basically, well, how do I know that a passcode exists? Well, a guard statement, of course. And so that's all hidden. And so the user would only see certain pieces of that. And so basically, whatever that the user needs to see in order to see like how to like cleanly implement the code is there. Most of those guard statements are hidden. Or you're just not really using them. And then as far as like, let's see, what was that thing you mentioned? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, like the different styles. Like...
Oh yeah, styles and annotations. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for styles and annotations, one thing I really wanted to do that I liked, I think I saw it just like in a standard Apple playground, was these different like, okay, here's what you have to do, or like, what do I do here? And so I really took that and I also ran with that, just to, in each section where it asked for an input, to tell the user like, this is what you need to input here, or like, this is what it's asking you to do, and like really clearly explaining that. And using those tools that Apple gives us in playgrounds. And that way too, one of the things I was worried about was getting in the 3-minute time period. And I actually showed it to my fiance, and I was like, hey, like, you try to use it and see how long it takes you. It took like 10 minutes to finish it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what if the Apple person that's reviewing this doesn't know how to use CryptoKit? It's gonna take them 10 minutes to do it. I'm not gonna get the scholarship. And so I basically, like, before each thing, I ask you for an input. It's like, this is what it's asking you, to kind of make it very clear. And that's how my best, I would say, use of annotation was to do just that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, like that you mentioned with the 3-minute timer, there is like a balance that you have to hit with, like not only with the text that is explaining what you have to input that helps to make the playground faster, but like you also had a lot of text like explaining the code and the brute forcing and all of that, and it's like a balance in between explaining what you're doing in code and like not taking up 5 minutes to read all of that, right?
Yeah, one thing I was worried about was like over documenting, of course. Yeah, in my intro screen when I first did it, I was like, man, this is almost an extra essay I'm writing here about the intro to the playground. Definitely. And you don't want to assume that the Apple reviewer knows nothing, but you also want to make it to where, like, yeah, this is a thing that you can put on the internet and people can actually use.
Yeah. It's part of the challenge to hit that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to like dive deeper into this framework that you use. Like you use CryptoKit. It's a pretty new framework, like released last year.
Yeah.
And yeah, how did you, like, what was the inspiration to use this framework? Would you recommend it? Something like that?
Yeah, so actually, I never heard of it until I did this playground. And the reason how I got to using it was I mentioned earlier, like my university project had us use um, SHA-256 hashing, and I did that in Python using a certain framework. And I was like, well, how do I do that on my or in a playground with Apple? And after some googling, of course, some Stack Overflow, I stumbled upon like this is a brand new framework only in iOS 13 that you can use called CryptoKit, and it really is really simple to use. It's like a one-liner of code to use SHA-256 algorithm, and it'll implement that hash. It'll hash your passcode or whatever string you want to hash. Um, yeah, it's fairly easy to use. And one important thing that I actually like go over in the playground is like you can't just hash a passcode. And a lot of developers, I don't know why they think they can do that, but like just hashing is not enough. And so the last page of the playground is about salting, which basically means you want to like add a random string after each one. Because if your passcode is 0000, well, if you hash it on any device in the world, it's going to give you the same exact uh, encrypted or hashed key that means 0000. And so basically, if you were to add a random 10-digit, let's say, string after, then you would never know. So if you saw that 0000 encrypted, you would never know that it actually is that because you have the salt in there. So the way that the way that hashing works is if you add even one more character after, like so let's say you say 000, sorry, 40 is like a one after, you're going to get an entire different string as a response from the hash. Uh, so yeah, that's like kind of the basis of what it is and like how CryptoKit works. I think it's like often overlooked because most developers, especially small, I guess you say indie developers like us, they tend to like go for like something like Firebase authentication or other authentications because of the risk involved really with storing passwords. And like we are responsible as developers that if someone gives us a passcode that it needs to be really secure that we can't get it back and a black hat hacker can't get it back or anyone else can't get the passcode. So I think that's part of the reason why it's like overlooked and it was kind of secretly released last year at WWDC, but we don't really heard about it. And I never heard about it for a whole year, even after watching the dub live. I never saw it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, it's a very useful framework, and there are maybe like a lot of things that Apple like releases that maybe flew under the radar.
Yeah,
And like, what would be like some tips that you may give to future students that want to participate in?
definitely. I guess my tips kind of go like from using CryptoKit is like try to find something that no one else is doing. Like if you just like use SwiftUI like a really basic playground, um, it won't get much attention from the developer. From the person reviewing as someone seeing, okay, what's CryptoKit? Like I work at Apple, I don't know what this is. Like some random framework that Apple offers that no one's really using. I think I don't know the exact number. I don't think anyone does, but just going through like the GitHub pages of all the different submissions, a lot of people are just using like SwiftUI or UIKit, maybe SpriteKit, and they're doing really interesting and cool things. But really, to like get an eye on your submission, like try to do something that's a little bit different that maybe someone else is not thinking of doing. This year, we saw a lot of users using like CoreML frameworks, and I think a lot of those submissions got in. People who did machine learning stuff. Like try to do something different, and also like something that's like relevant that Apple recently added. That way, you're showing that like I have interest in what Apple is doing for developers, as opposed to just the entire computer science realm. And I think Apple appreciates that press we give them. as students and as developers.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean having these like lesser known frameworks will give you some extra points for like I don't want to say creativity, but yeah, I don't know how to put it, but like using these unknown frameworks is going to differentiate you from all the other people who are using.
Yeah, even if you like scroll through the GitHub pages, like it can be very like easy to scroll past the ones that say UI kit and Swift UI and Sprite kit, and you'll like someone popping up. It's like, oh, they use Pencil Kit, that's different, or they use Cormel, that's different, or like, what's Accelerate? What does that mean? It's just kind of cool to see like, yeah, if you even like looking at it myself, like seeing random things, I'm like, oh, like how did they do that? Or, like, what did they do that like how could they possibly use I don't know, like Vision Kit, and you go and you like see what they did, and it's all usually pretty interesting. Even for my own, like I think I was the only person that I've seen this year use CryptoKit just by a quick Command F search from the GitHub page. But like from there, just to see that, it's like really interesting because so I lost my train of thought. Just to like search GitHub and see that no one else is using it, it's like, well, maybe that person like went the extra mile to like find something. And in reality, like I didn't really do a whole lot of work on my project. I put a few hours in, of course, but the complexity of my project is very, very minimal compared to some other products out there. Even some of them that didn't make it, they probably spent a whole lot more time than I did on my project. It's just like something different, not very complex, quick 3 minutes. It's very very simple. Like keep it simple and just like pick that small niche thing and just run with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean like a lot of points for creativity and yeah, I think that's some great advice. So I want to know how was like your experience, well, thinking or like coding and submitting your project. Like you mentioned, it was a quick project to make, and you get inspiration from university, but was something more around that process?
Do you mean like before getting started or after?
Before.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting because of the illness, of course, things were different and I had more time on my hands. It actually I actually wasn't sold on doing this, on like doing the project. Um, and so I don't know what it was that made me just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. Um, but I did, and then I was trying to think of what I could do for it. I ended up thinking about my homework I had with the cryptography, looked into like how hard it would be to use uh, CryptoKit. Of course, ended up using that. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like put a couple hours in and see what I can do, and then from there judge like how much time it will take moving forward. Um, and then I also started looking at that point at other past submissions, like 2018, 2017, and um, not only the projects, but like on Twitter of just like their experiences and stuff. And I was like, man, it'd be so cool to be able to say like, yeah, like I was a winner of Apple's challenge, and just like the feeling of like possibly getting accepted made me want to like. I was like, you know what, I need to do this. Like, I might get rejected. Might be a lot of work, but I'm just gonna go ahead and go for it. And I must say, like, it definitely all paid out in the end, and it's really a great experience of getting accepted, and also just the honor of being able to submit a project.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, like you mentioned, like participating in the challenge is great, and like being selected is like an awesome feeling. Being one of the exclusive 350 students worldwide to have like winning this challenge this year,
Yeah,
and and yeah, you don't have anything to lose by participating.
exactly. Yeah, like unless you're like a super super busy student, and like yeah, maybe it's not the best thing for you, but like if you even have like an hour a week to spend on on this playground, like just go for it and just see what you can make in that time. And like I promise, like Apple is not looking to see who spent the most time on on their projects. They're the winners this year. They're not doing that. They're just saying, okay, who are these students that are thinking outside the box? They're engineers. They're creative. they're doing something that's just different. Like, who are these people? These are the winners. So that could mean, in a 3 hours spent total. That's what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend 3 hours a day on your project or even more than that. Just like give it your best effort. And at the end, if you feel like you didn't do a submittable project, so to speak, just go ahead and submit it anyways. There's no like repercussions for submitting. So yeah, it's like give it your best shot, and then yeah, go from there, and you'll see if you win or not. I personally, after submitting it, and I'm looking at the GitHub pages to see who also submitted this year, and watching some videos on YouTube of 2020 submissions, I honestly opened up my letter expecting a rejection, and I was like, I'm just gonna make sure I didn't get accepted. There's just no way that these students that did these amazing things with like CoreML or with SceneKit and SpriteKit and all this different stuff, there's no way I came close to beating them and to getting accepted. But it turns out I did, and I think a lot of that has to do with just being unique in my project, even though I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows what the secret algorithm they use.
Yeah, I wish I did.
But yeah, I think that the reason is there is no algorithm. Like they have a lot of people like checking the submissions from all the students, but yeah, there is no like secret code that using CoreML will give you extra points or nothing like that. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah, you should submit and see how it goes. Like you never know.
Definitely.
Okay, like what other projects are you working on right now? Like you mentioned you are studying computer science. Are you dedicating to the studies or any other side project?
Yeah, I actually just released a brand new app about a month ago or so. It actually released it about a week after, maybe like 3 days after I got accepted for the W20 for this year for the Student Challenge. And it was funny because my hometown in Louisiana is like a very like family oriented, community oriented, everyone supports each other kind of community. And so I knew that whenever I did release my app, everyone would love to use it and to help me out. And I also knew that if I got accepted, they would also love that as well. And it's funny because as soon as I got accepted, no one knew what this was that I won. But then they also knew that I released a brand new app about 3 days later. And so everyone, for some reason, associated that, oh, he released an app on the App Store. Apple liked it, and now Apple likes his app. And for some reason, that was what was going around from people with my friends and my family and stuff was, oh, that app that I have on my phone, that's your winning app. I was like, no, it's a playground about security. You don't really need to get it. You don't have to understand it. It's fine. The app's called Dinner Decider that I released about a month ago. And the way it works is two people get on the app and you put in your location and how much money you want to spend and like when you want to go eat somewhere. And then the app sends you both 6 random restaurants using Yelp's API. And you rate each one like you would on Tinder, but it's like a star system. It's like from 0 to 5 stars. And then at the end, it shows you where you should both go eat together. I'm actually adding groups on it soon. So you have a group of of 8 people or less. You can all get on the app and you like scan the QR code of one person's phone. And then it'll show you guys restaurants and you rate on them. And then it'll tell you where to go eat.
Oh, that's so cool. That's a really cool idea and very helpful. Like,
yeah, so far I've gotten pretty good feedback from it. I have about I think 500 total downloads in a month, which is like a decent number. I only have about 50 or so daily users. But a big complaint I've gotten so far is hey, we need to have groups on here because oftentimes I'm going to get dinner with multiple people, not just one person. So I'm adding I'm adding groups to the app probably by the end of this week. So I think that'll help out a lot. But yeah, it's a really cool app, and I enjoyed making it for myself. Honestly, it was I wanted this for me and my fiance and my friends to use, and because of the nature of creating apps that can go all over the world, it just so happens that everyone can try it out. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think I've seen anything similar, and it's like solving a real problem. So yeah, that ticks a lot of boxes in the personal projects.
Yeah, what I normally see is one called like something called like dinner spinner or like dinner like roulette, like restaurant roulette. And usually how it works is you give it the criteria and like it randomly picks for you, which is basically like go using Yelp and then picking a random restaurant on Yelp. This one's a little bit different because after grabbing the restaurants from the Yelp API, it does randomly pick 6, and then from the 6 you rate them all. So it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Yeah, you have more control that way, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. That's a really cool project, and yeah, I hope that you continue like updating it with groups that, like you said, and like maybe other features. And yeah, it's awesome to have a personal project like that already on the App Store. It's really cool.
Yeah, this is my third app, and definitely my most like I guess the one I'm most confident in that could possibly get bigger. But I think part of the problem with app development that a lot of indie developers like us kind of don't realize is it's one thing to make an app, and it's a whole other world to market an app. Um, I'm not sure if you had a similar experience or not, but like just from that one app in the App Store, it's like, okay, even if I did create the next Facebook, how would I get people to join my new Facebook? Even if it's the same exact product that they have now on the App Store that Facebook creates. Um, at some point, you have to like go out and get new users or find some way for your users to generate more users for you. And so my last two apps, even like as I'm updating them, it's so difficult to like, beside having like word of mouth being spread with like other users going and telling other people about the app, if they do, even if they do enjoy it, it is the viral spread that we've seen from apps like Poppy Bird and such. Like there is like a marketing game to kind of learn about creating apps.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like you can have like the best app in existence that solves 5 problems at the same time, but yeah, getting users is still hard in any context. Like grabbing people's attentions and
Yeah, it's definitely gotten very saturated over the last 2 years. It isn't as bad as Android is just yet. And I think the license every year for $100 is part of what helps that a lot. Um, and like I've seen so many like really good apps that I've used, especially games. Like I've seen a lot of games that people have used with like 7 reviews, and it's like way better than like half the games in the App Store. It's unfortunate because it's like how well, like, is there really a solution to this problem that like, yeah, I think a recent study said like 90% of app usage is like shared by like 7 different apps on people's phones. Um, and in my own experience with my friends, like there's like a weird stigma against having apps in your phone. And I have like 250 or so apps on my phone. People say I'm crazy. I'm like, no, they all have a purpose. I use them all, and I support these developers. And I think it's fun to find apps and find good apps.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm more in like your territory with having lots of apps. I think I'm around 180 lately. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, getting users is a pretty big challenge.
definitely.
Okay, why don't we round things up talking about your favorite new feature announced at WWDC this year?
I think that I have like two answers. I think as from a consumer standpoint, it has to be ARM-based Macs. There's just no way it can't be that. I actually was planning on buying a new Mac. Right now, I'm rocking a 2016 MacBook Pro with a bigger hard drive, bigger RAM, bigger CPU, and it's definitely got me through what I've needed it for. Um, I do video editing as like a side gig, um, and I at this point I'm like I need a new Mac. But after the ARM announcement, I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to buy another Intel based Mac if all the charts that they showed are real about how much faster and less power is going to be required for an ARM-based MacBook. That's my consumer answer. As a developer, my answer is WidgetKit. I think it's the coolest little framework that's just so easy to use, and it's going to change how we use apps. Um, I do like app clips as well, but just for like what I want to do with creating my own apps, WidgetKit just like has a special place like in what I do. And I actually have already like started working on a couple of new projects in the future to use. They're going to use WidgetKit, and it's just like it's so easy. And it like after using iOS 14 on my phone, like I don't have to open up any apps. I just glance at my lock screen, or sorry, glance at my home screen. I can see like the Tesla stock price, for example, or like the weather for today. And it's just like I think widgets should have been added whenever the iPhone was first released, and now it's like a long time coming, but it's worth the wait to see how well it's done and to see like from the back end how they're doing it. Very similar to like an Apple Watch complication of just the ability to do like a timeline where you can say, well, in an hour the person should see this, in 2 hours the person should see this, and then after that's over, come and ask us again, and we'll tell you what the next new data should be. It makes a lot of sense from an engineering standpoint. You're like, oh yeah, like that's how widgets should be done across all devices and all technologies.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Like I'm seeing like a pattern. Like I ask this question in every episode, and yeah, between WidgetKit and ARM Max, like Apple Silicon they are the most popular features, and I think that they both are going to change like consumer habits, I guess. Like with WidgetKit, it's adding a new dimension to the use of iOS.
Yeah, definitely.
And the new Apple Silicon Macs, like they're going to be really powerful, really like efficient also.
Yeah.
And I really think like you should like hold on and to your 2016 MacBook Pro and like buy an Apple Silicon Mac if it comes like later this year.
I'm hoping they can keep the price down for us. That's my biggest thing. It's like they can keep it like underneath $2,000. Like, because I'm scared it's going to be like around that much. But looking at like, I actually did a report. I took a computer engineering class last fall, and it was about like why the Apple iPhone will forever be faster than Androids. And I got so much hate from the kids in my class about that, about this, like, it's just impossible because they're using a generic processor, the Snapdragon. And I was like, once Apple releases their own system on a chip, like once they can take over that realm and design that all in house, like it will be game over for Windows. And I told them all that, and I hope I can back that up by having my own. But I really do think it'll be a game changer for the rest of computing forever.
Yeah, for sure. Like having this like hardware and software and firmware control all over the products is going to like make Apple really powerful in all of their devices.
Yeah, people often tell me like, oh, well, your iPhone only has how many gigs of RAM? And it's like, I don't care about RAM. I care about like at the end of the day, how fast is your phone? I think it's the funniest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like Android people like to brag about RAM and I don't know, like camera megapixels, I guess, like
just like
raw numbers
exactly.
That don't mean anything. But yeah, the usability of these devices is really great. So that's what matters. Okay, Joseph, like thank you very much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. I really wish you the best of luck with the podcast. Whenever I saw on Twitter that you were doing this, like, man, that's a great idea. It should be really, really great.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you have enjoyed it and that you learned something. Don't forget to follow the links in the description for Joseph's content info and to learn something about CryptoKit using Joseph's project. Give us a follow on your podcast player of choice so you get notified when we release a new episode, and share the show if you think it might help someone. I'm your host Valentino Cerruti. You can find me on Twitter as @microrex. This has been Scholars in the Spotlight, and I'll see you in the next episode.